Karen expects total stranger to babysit her child, even after being told no. So this is a weird one. It's not my story, but a friend who messaged me right after it happened to vent cuz what the flip? Karen equals entitled mother SK equals sweet kid F equals my friend. So Karen moved into the apartment next to F's a couple of weeks ago. Karen has struck up short, polite conversations with F just 2 times in that period, with the second being yesterday, the day before this whole fiasco unfolded. This morning at about 9 a.m., while F had a lovely Saturday breakfast, she gets up at 6 a.m. on weekdays, so this was a weekend lion for her. Someone started aggressively banging on her front door. When F answered, Karen stood there with SK, a 5-year-old girl, who had a little backpack on. Sounding very flustered, Karen said she was sorry to ask this without notice, but could F please watch SK for a few hours because Karen had somewhere really important to be. Now, something you need to understand about F is that she can't stand kids and has no idea how to deal with them. She tenses up and gets super awkward if a kid so much as waves at her in the supermarket. F is also disabled. She uses a motorized wheelchair sometimes and a walking cane for short distances or when pottering around her home. She lives with her girlfriend, who is also her carer. Her chronic illnesses involve fainting spells and a lot of brain fog, so by her own account, she's absolutely not someone who should be left in charge of a child. Karen has seen F using her wheelchair and her cane and has seen F's girlfriend, who was at work when this all happened, helping her in and out of their car. So F responded with a firm no, explaining that her medical conditions meant that SK would not be safe in her care and that she was not well enough to have any guests, let alone an unattended kid, in her home, anyway. Karen immediately flipped from pleading and simpering to hand-on-hip indignation, at this point, accusing F of faking her disabilities, because, of course, if she can walk at all, then she obviously doesn't actually need a wheelchair, right? And threatened to report her to Centrelink, welfare, if F didn't watch SK for her. Never mind the fact that F isn't an interest, lol. Her girlfriend has a high-paying job, and F works between part-time and full-time hours from home most weeks. She's a goddamn machine, and I don't know how she manages it. Newsflash, not all disabled people can work. However, getting employers to hire us is another matter because of ableism. So F basically said, I'm not on Centrelink, and I don't appreciate being blackmailed. Find another babysitter because I am not it. And closed her door. Karen kept banging on the door for a bit but eventually left. About 20 minutes later, F heard a faint, timid tapping on her front door. She said she probably wouldn't have heard it if she hadn't been so close to it. She sighed heavily, having kind of already guessed what was happening. She opened the door, and there was SK, who had clearly been crying, clutching the shoulder straps of her little backpack. She softly said, Mummy said I could stay here today. Now, like I said, F cannot stand kids, but even she said that SK was an absolute darling throughout this entire fiasco, and the most she ever did was cry because her mother is clearly a goddamn monster. Karen had driven off and sent SK to F's door, clearly thinking that if she left F with no alternative, she'd just play along and babysit SK for her, especially since F had no way of contacting Karen. Wrong. F escaped abusive parents at a young age, and this poop made her furious. She got SK settled in front of the TV with a drink and snacks and called the police. Yeah, my neighbor just abandoned her 5-year-old daughter outside of her apartment, and the kid showed up at my door, asking to come in. When the officers arrived, F told them the whole story, and while they were appalled, she said they weren't surprised. One said, you'd be shocked at how not rare this kind of thing is. Which is honestly kind of the worst part of all this. The officers took SK with them and were really sweet with her, explaining that she wasn't in any trouble and had done the right thing and that they were there to look after her and find out where her mummy had gone. F found out later that they could contact SK's father, who is currently working on finalizing a divorce from Karen and was also appalled but not remotely surprised by what she'd done. Here's hoping he gets full custody of the poor kid after all this.